Welcome back. Until now, we have seen a lot of stuff about LabVIEW, how to create VIs, how to save them, how to create sub-VIs in order to be used later. And also, we have gone through the tools that the block diagram panel gives us. And mainly, we have discussed the structures like for loop, the while loop, and so on. In this section, we want to introduce you to um, arrays and clusters and their differences and how we can use them, how we can create them, and how we can take advantage of them in writing and in designing programs in LabVIEW. So like previous sessions, in order to start our work, we click on blank VI. We have our two famous windows here. We split the screen. So in order to start with arrays and clusters, let me give you a brief definition first. Arrays are a group of variables which have the same type. So I repeat, arrays are a group of variables which have the same type. I mean an array of numbers or an array of strings. So some strings can be put together as an array of strings, or some numbers can be put together as an array of numbers. So that's the definition of arrays. What's a cluster then? A cluster is a group of variables that can have different types. So if, for example, we have some numbers, we have some Boolean variables, some strings, and we want to put them together as a group, we cannot put them together as array, but we can put them together as a cluster. So that's the difference of array and clusters. The arrays uh, consist of variables that have the same type, but clusters consist of variables that have different types. So that's their basic difference. So let's first start with arrays. In order to create arrays, there are different ways. Here we present you with two ways to create arrays. The first one is going through uh, here in the block diagram panel. We go here and we click on build array and we drag it here. You see, now there's only one row in this array. In order to increase it as much as you want, as many as the members of the array that you need, or we can just drag it as much as we want. So for example, we drag it as 3. Now you see this has 3 um, members in it, 3 variables inside this array. What are their types? We have not told this yet. We can decide on the type of the variables which are in this array. So for example, let's go here and let's create a control. So you see, this is a numeric control, and this is the first element of this array. Let's go and add another one. So we can also give any number that we want to give it, and this is the third control. See, these are the elements inside this array. So in order to put them together as an array, we use this build array, and then we should take an output from it. We should take an indicator from it. So we create an indicator here. Please pay attention to the thickness of these wires. These wires. See, these single wires, because they send only one variable to this build array block, they are very thin. But this one, which sends the result, which is an array of 3 numeric variables, this is thicker because this consists of an array. And you see, this is the appended array. This is the resulted array. So let's run this. You see, you can change this to whatever we want, and we can see the results here. So what are these results? Let me stop it. So in order to see all of the array elements, we should make it as big as it is. So let's make it as big as 3, you see. Now if I run it again and I give any number that I want, you see they are appeared here. If we don't do that, and if we want to show only, for example, one of them, we can do like this. And if we drag it to what is bigger than the size of our array, you will see that we will have zeros here, and they cannot be changed because our array is of size 3. We don't have more than that, you see. So what is the role of this number here? This indicates the beginning of showing your array. So let's run it again for you in order for you to see. So if it is on 0, it means that show us from the first element, which is numbered as 0. So if you put it on 1, you see only the second and third are shown. And if we put it on 2, only the last one is shown. If we put it on 3, because we don't have more than 3 elements, nothing is shown here. So I put it, in order to see all of the elements in an array, you should put it on 0 so that it shows all of them from the number 0 element to the last element. So that's how we make arrays. Also, we can concatenate arrays together. So for example, let's assume that, let me stop this. Let's assume that we have another array. So let's build another array here. So assume that this array this time is of size 4, and let's give these values. This time I want to give them some constant, for example, values. So I give constant to this and the other ones. So I want to show you different methods of giving numbers to arrays. So these are variables, these are controls, they can be changed, but the constants, you see, cannot be changed. You see these ones appeared in the front panel in order to be changed by the user when you run the program, but these ones don't appear here. You should give them values now. So for example, let me give this value 1000, give this value, for example, 250. Let's give another constant here. Let's create a constant as, for example, minus 25, and let's create our last constant, and let's put it at, for example, 1500. So you see these are constant, we cannot change them when we run the program. And here we want to see the result as an indicator. So you see our second array appeared here. In order to see it, we can increase the size which is shown on here. This is not the real size, this is the shown size. So the real size is what is seen here. For example, this is 3, this is an array of 4. So here we have maximum 3 elements, and here we have maximum 4. Even if we show more than that, we will see only 4 of them to be given a value. So let me run. You see, because these are constant, they immediately appear here. So let us concatenate these two arrays together. So in order to concatenate them, we go to array, we put build array, and because we want to concatenate two arrays, so I increase the size of this to 2, and I connect one of them to this one, and I connect the other one to this one. And let's see, and you see these are thick wires, because this one consists of 3 elements, the other one consists of 4 elements. And do not forget to right click on the build array, the resulted build array, and select the concatenate inputs. So if you don't do that, then they are not concatenated. They will be shown in another way. So because we want to put them together, we want to first put the 3 elements of this and then the 4 elements of this and put them as a 7 elements array. We should go right click here and click on concatenate inputs, and then let's see them as an indicator. So you see this is also a thick line, a thick wire. So you see this is the appended array. If we want to see all of the 7 elements, we can drag it and we will see until the 7th one. The other ones will be 0. So let's run it, and you see the first 3 from these and the next one from these constants, and they are put together as 7 elements. If we increase this, we will increase the starting point of showing the elements to us. If we want to see all of them, we should put 0 here. And this is the first way of creating an array. There is another way of creating arrays, which is used mostly when we want to create arrays consisting of random numbers. So in order to do that, let me first stop this one and delete the previous example. So now let's go and use the for structure in order to create an array consisting of random numbers. We use the for structure. We will use this random number tool here. You see, I right clicked, I went to numeric, and I dragged this random number, this dice icon. So you should give this, you should indicate the size of this array. So let's create a control here so that we can control how many times this for loop should be done. And then let's connect this to the for loop, and then let's put an indicator here. See the difference of these wires. You see this one is very thin because this is only for one element, but this one is very thick because the program LabVIEW knows that this for will be run for n times, and it will give us different elements as output. How many times it will be run, it depends on how much is this number and what number we give this program. So let's run this and see what's happening. So let me first increase the size of what is shown here. So let's run it. You see this n is now 0. It means that this is not run. If we put it as 1, we will see that we are getting random numbers only once, and if we increase it, we'll get different random numbers as much as we want. So if we need 16 random numbers, we just increase it to 16. So this is run 16 times continuously, and these are given to us as random numbers. So this is the second way of creating an array, and this is mostly used for creating arrays of random elements. So let me stop it. So as you know, the array is can be more than one dimension. So this array only has one dimension, it's like a vector. But if we want to increase the size of the dimensions of this array, we can make it as 2D arrays, 3D arrays, as much as we want, by increasing for loops inside for loops. So in order to do that, Let me first delete this and get rid of these extra wires with Control B, and let's delete this. We will do it again. So let's put another for loop inside this for loop. So we will go to structure, we drag the for loop, we put it inside the other for loop. So you see this will give us a 2D array of random numbers. So let's give some control to this n. So we create a control here. So this is the size of the second dimension of our array, and let's go and use that random number generator. We put it inside the second one, we connect it to the frame of this for loop, and we connect it again to the frame of the second one, and then we put an indicator in order to see the results. So you see now we have two indexes here in order to show us the rows and the columns. So in order to see all of them, I drag it in 2 dimensions in order to see what's happening here. So for example, so let's run it. So let's run this and see what's happening. So you see, we told it to generate 16 as the first dimension, and you see 4 as the second dimension. So we will see 16 rows and 4 columns of random numbers. And in order to see all of them, both of these should be put at 0. If we want to, for example, don't see some columns, we can increase this. So it will show us the third and fourth column. If we put it on 2, and also about the rows, we can do the same. But mostly we want to see all of them, so we put them on 0 and 0. And you see that other ones are not existing even, because our array of 2 dimension was of dimension 16 multiplied by 4. So we don't have the other ones, just they are shown as we asked the program, but they are not existing. So this is the only part which is existing in the memory of the program when it is run. So let me stop this. There is another point about the arrays, and that's the polymorphous operations that we can do on them. What I mean by polymorphous operations is that if we have an array of some size and we have another array of the same size, then we can do some operations between their elements one by one. We can add them, we can multiply them, or some other basic operations if the size of the two arrays are the same. So let's see an example of that here very quickly. So we right click here, we go to, as I told you, build array here, we put it here, increase the size, for example, to 4, and let's give the elements that we need. Just as a reminder, as I told you, arrays are consisting of elements of the same type. So as we mostly use arrays for storing the numeric variables, if we click on here and we create a control, the default of LabVIEW will give us numeric elements, but if I undo this, we can also give them whatever we want. If we want to have an array of strings, we can have. There's no problem with that. So in order to have a string here, we come to this string and we select the string control. So, and you see this is purple. So if I connect it to the first element, you see all of these become purple, because you know this is an array and we cannot put a string and put a numeric variable together. So if we want the first one to be a string, all of them should be strings. So let me undo it. So I wanted just to tell you and just to remind you that you can put whatever you want into arrays, as long as all of them have the same type. So we go here and we create our control. So this is our control which is connected. Just copy them by pressing Ctrl and dragging, and then we quickly connect them to here, and the last one to here. So this is our first array is built now. So let's control the whole uh, array here. So this is our second array, and if we want to do, for example, summation between the elements, we can easily come here, go to numeric, and put an addition here. So we can connect this the first and this second. This can be done because we have two arrays of the same size. This is a 4 um, uh, element array, and this is another 4 element array, so we can add them. So this will add the elements one by one. Pay attention to the order of the elements here so that you don't get confused. So this will be done on a basis of one by one. And so in order to see the result, let's put an indicator here. So you see these wires are thicker because they don't have only one single element. They are transferring elements together. So you see this is x plus y as here. So let's run this. And if we put some elements here, for example, I put 6 here, I put minus 10 here, I put 1 over 2, 1.2 here, I put 2000 here, also here the same thing, I put minus 4.5 here, I put 1000 here, I put 2000 here, and I put 10 here. So you see only the first one is shown to us, which is 6 minus 4.5. In order to see all of them, let me stop the program and increase the size of what is shown to us. As much as we increase, it doesn't matter because only 4 of them has values, because this is 4, this has 4 elements, this has 4 elements, so the addition will also have 4 elements. So this is this plus this and so on. So we can do operations on arrays of the same size very easily. There are also some useful tools for arrays in LabVIEW. Let's go through some of them and see their functions. So if we use this array size, so if we connect it to the output of an array, and if we put an indicator here, then we will see the size of the array. So if we don't know what is the size of an array, we can easily get the size as a number by using this array size. There's another useful tool to use with arrays, which is this index array. Let me put it here. So this index array gets the array as an input. So let me put it here in order to show you better. So connect the input of this to the output of this array. So the array is input, and then here we create a control in order to tell this block which index we want to see in the output. We want to see as a control. So let's create as an indicator. So let's create an indicator. So let's run it. So this index, this input, which is this one, tells this block to give us which of the elements as output. So if this is set on 0, it gives us the first element, which is 6. You see, this element 9 is the output. You see the name of element 9. So if we put it on 1, it gives us the second element, which is minus 10. If we put it on 2, it gives us the third element, which is 1.2. And if we set it on 3, it gives the last element to us. So if we put it on 4, because there or more than that, because this array, the array that we were talking about, had only 4 elements. If we put this index on 6, it gives us nothing. It gives us a default 0, because this array only had 4 elements in it. So in order to take out one of the elements out of an array and do some operation on it, we can use this index array. There are also some other beautiful tools in this array palette. We can use this to convert an array to cluster, and we can use this tool to convert a cluster to array. You can use them after I teach you how to create clusters in LabVIEW. So until here we learned about arrays. Let's go and learn some stuff about clusters. So let me delete all this stuff. So as I told you in the beginning of this video, arrays are made of same type variables, and clusters are made of different type variables. So in order to make a cluster, this time we come to front panel and we go to this array matrix and cluster palette, and we choose this, we drag it here. So you see I put a cluster on front panel. Let me increase the size. So I can put whatever I want from whatever the type into this cluster. But the important point is that we can put everything we want, but we should pay attention. All of them should be either control or indicator. For example, we cannot put a numeric control but a string indicator. So we can put a numeric control together with a string control. We cannot put an indicator with a control. So in order to see that, let's, for example, put a numeric control here. Let's put a string control here. And for the booleans, which one can we use? LED or switch? Which one is control? The switch are used as control. So because the other ones are control, we can put also a boolean control here. So you see our cluster is ready. We could put whatever we want here, and this is shown as a cluster in the block diagram. So in order to see the elements one by one from this cluster, we right click in block diagram, we go to cluster palette, and we choose this unbundle. So we put it here. If we connect the output of the cluster to this unbundle, you see automatically it changed to 3. Let me undo what I did. You see, when I put it, it was in default form, just in order to show us some block. But when I connect it, it automatically changes to 3 elements, and you see the colors. The first one is orange, which shows us we have a numeric value. The second one is purple, which shows us we have a string, and the last one is green. As I told you before, green is for boolean variables in LabVIEW. So now we can create easily. If we click on here, we can easily create our indicators in order to see them. So you see the first indicator automatically a numeric one. The second one, if we create indicator, automatically a purple one, and the last one, if we create, we'll automatically see a boolean one. And you see now we can see them here. So you see, because this boolean is now an indicator, now it is an LED is chosen to be shown to us. But when we put it here, because we wanted all of them to be a control, then we chose the switch. So now we can see them as they are appeared in the cluster. um, so let me run it. There's no problem. Whatever we put here, we will see it here. Whatever we write here, for example, let me write lab view, we will see it here. And if we toggle this switch, we will see the result as an indicator here. So we created a cluster, and then we unbundled it. We how can I say, we made it to show us one by one the elements as uh, in a one by one form. So let me stop this. There's a second way of making clusters. In order to do that, we use the bundle this time. So we come here, use this bundle. But you see, this bundle should be told what type of elements we are using. So in order to show it the type of elements and also the number of elements, we connect it to the to one cluster that we already have, and we tell it to copy the form of this cluster, not the elements, but the form. So you see, the first one was numeric, the second one was a string, and the third one was boolean. The same type and order and size here. So you see, but not the element. The elements are not copied here. We can put whatever we want, but we should tell it to copy the form of the previous cluster in order to take a form. So now we can put whatever we want as inputs, as controls here. So in order to do that easily, we right click here. So we can create constants or we can create controls, whatever we want. If something is constant and cannot be changed by the user, when we run the program, we put constant. So we, for example, put a numeric constant here, and we can give it whatever the value we want, but we cannot change it later. You see, nothing is appeared here. So I put, for example, 1500 as a number here. For the second one, we can also create constant string or control string. This time I choose, for example, control. So you see, this time we can change it by the user when this is run. And for the last one, we also create, for example, a constant boolean. So you see, this constant boolean is chosen as false. We can change it as true if we click on it. You see, if I click, true or false is changed. We could also put a control and put a switch here. So there's no difference. It depends on what we want. So now in order to show the cluster, we right click here and we create an indicator, and you see that our cluster appears here. You see, this is our second cluster. So you see we have a number which is constant. This is 1500, but you see 0 here because I have not run it yet. If I run it, then 1500 will be copied here directly. The string is empty because this is up to user, because it was a control, it was not a constant. And this boolean is also constant. It is true, it means this LED will be on when I run it. So let me run it. You see, this is on, this is 1500, and this is up to the user. So let me write, for example, the word lab EE3141 here. When I press enter, I will see it here. You see, and I can change it because this is of control type. We could put it also as constant, and in order not to be changed. This depends on whatever we want. So these are the two ways of making cluster. Let me stop the program. So if you remember, when I was teaching you about arrays, I told you that there are two useful tools here: array to cluster and cluster to array. In order to use this cluster to array and change a cluster into an array, there's a condition. You remember, the array should be made of the same type elements. So we cannot use these two clusters and turn them into arrays. You know why? Because these two clusters are made of different types of elements. They have numeric, they have string, they have boolean. So we cannot use them as as input to that cluster to array block. So in order to have to be able to see that example, we come here, we make a new cluster. This time we put all numeric values into it. So let me put some numeric constants, some numeric controls here. So let me increase the size of frame so I can, as you know, I can copy this as much as I want. So I copy it 3 times. So you see, now I have a cluster which is made of 3 elements. You see, this is our cluster. let me put it here. You see the name is cluster2, the name is cluster2. So in order to use that cluster to array, let me go here, put, sorry, this cluster to array, I put it here. So if I connect this to this, you see we have a thick wire, and now I can create an indicator. You see I will have my array here. So this cluster of 3 numbers can be turned into an array of 3 numbers. Let me put them together in order for you to see them, and in order to see all of the elements you can increase the size of show as much as we want, but we know that we will see only 3 of them because this has 3 elements. So let me run it. So let me put whatever number I want here, 1200 minus 3, 2.6. So you see I'm seeing them as array, the same thing. So this cluster could be turned into array because the elements inside were the same type. We could not change this one or this one into array because they had different elements of different types. So if we have all numeric or string or all boolean, then we can change that cluster into array and use the array functionalities. So that's it for this video.